guys, and welcome back to another video. In this video we're doing my AFL SuperCoach team update video 2.0. After just doing the fancy one yesterday, I thought I'd follow it up with a SuperCoach sort of preview, I guess, of the team, how it's tracking along as we get closer to the season, and sort of how I've formulated my ideas. I guess SuperCoach being a little bit different, I actually just tried pre-recording to fit my side in that I had from Fantasy, and I, with the flex position, can't really get it to work. So there will be a little bit different, which is obviously going to happen because guys like Timmy Taranto isn't really a good SuperCoach player from memory, and obviously he's priced currently at 509k in SuperCoach. What did he actually go at last year? He went at 94 across both platforms, so that'll be interesting to watch with regard to that. But yeah, it's just a very, very intriguing how to balance out both of them, because we know that they're different, and that some players do much better in SuperCoach than they do in Fantasy. I'm just actually quickly typing up Tim Taranto and trying to get his SuperCoach numbers for 2023. For 2023, his first year at Richmond, he went 106 in SuperCoach, whereas in Fantasy he went at 112. So yeah, he's definitely done better in Fantasy than he has done in SuperCoach, and that is mostly due to his disposal efficiency. But anyway, let's just jump into the video here and jump into it. So as you can see, the Tim Taranto, I'm not going to be able to hide the team that well, as I do need, as I can't really minimize that on the team picker currently. We know that SuperCoach for everyone else is coming out relatively soon. But starting out, backline, Jack Sinclair, if we look at the defenders here, because I can actually scroll a little bit better than in Fantasy, you've got, I am considering Flanders and Sheasel as probably the two above Sinclair that I like, given that Sinclair's a 7th best primo defender. And so yeah, I'm just sort of scoping it out a little bit at the moment with regards to that. And Sinclair D1 at the moment, but Flanders and Sheasel are the two that I'd probably go above him to start. Probably Sheasel, Sheasel over Flanders at the moment. Flanders being the second guy that I'd go for, so Sheasel would have to have a really bad role change or something like that to be behind Sinclair. To be behind Flanders, I should say. Trent Rivers, this is just sort of a money thing, just making it work a little bit. At the moment, he sort of just slotted in there. I think he's probably I fancy him more than the likes of Farrell at the present time, and that's just because of the role. I know I probably said in preseason that in the Melbourne preview that I didn't like Rivers as much, but I'm probably that's probably going to progress over time, I guess. But yeah, as you see here, he hasn't really had any increase, 84 to 80, 84.8 to 85.9. If we just look at when he was in the CBAs, major CBAs, above 50% CBAs, he averaged 92.4. So there is something there. There's some meat on the bone. If you extend it out to all CBA games, he's at 93.6 in 11 games. And then we can even just sort of look at this number as well, 91.4 in 14 games, etc. So I think there is some value in there for Trent Rivers. I just don't know how much there is in particular, especially with Harvey Langford coming into that side. Petrarca's already back, I think, on light duties. Oliver's training really well, so maybe they get a slight bump there. And I do think that Gawn has a really good run to start, so maybe there is worth in starting like a Max Gawn in that position, and maybe that's where you save a little bit of cash over Rowan Marshall. But yeah, I just think that I'm probably going to start one of Rowan Marshall or Max Gawn, but we'll just have to wait and see on that front. But Max Gawn should have a really good run, which should help out like the guys like Trent Rivers. But if we look at Rivers in non-CBA games, this is kind of where my worry lies, is that we look at him in non-CBA games in 2024, and he averaged 78.8. So he's just a placeholder at the moment until we get the rookies that we know of as yeah, it could be a very, very interesting. I could even see myself doing something Honestly, it could be something like this. 1 second. He can have the VC for now. Can Coleman. But if I just go something like this and put that there, then I'd have 360k spare. I could go up to a Flynn here as well. And then I don't think there's anyone in the forward line that I desperately want. Maybe even going down to like an Erasmus here. And that would give me the cash here to go and grab the Brayshaws, the Sarongs and stuff like that, and the Butters, or potentially even going away from like a Peatling up to a Butters straight away. Butters here, and then you'd have that there as the line there, and that could potentially work. But yeah, as you see, there's just a lot of different placeholders at the moment because we don't really know. I'm more set in stone with my fancy side than my SuperCoach side. Maybe that's just the more experience, etc. But yeah, I haven't changed this side too much, to be honest with you. And so yeah, and obviously I think it would be that anyway. But I'm really liking the reports out of Richmond for Caleb Smith. So maybe even you drop a Bo Allen for a Caleb Smith there, and that's the way that you get that extra sort of 15k or so. Because that would be very, very worthwhile. That extra 15k can generate some added value, I guess. So yeah, that's the top two defenders, I guess, in a way, or the Rivers role, etc. He's sort of competing for that D2, D3 role. Short, etc. We've talked about him heavily in fantasy, and I think the numbers sort of extend to SuperCoach. Mills, the same thing, pretty much. It's just role dependent. Well, I said it's actually score dependent in round 0, how he goes. But yeah, his role is it's role and score dependent. If he drops a 30 or whatever in a midfield only role, which he's not going to do, but if he does do that, you'd hold off, but you'd be willing to jump on very, very quickly after his bye. Just because he'd be one that's going to hold price in SuperCoach. He's going to dip down and then go back up in fantasy. And then suddenly you're looking at a guy that's got a midfield role that's 400k around the point of almost upgrade season after just having one forgettable game. So yeah, there's like stuff with that with Mills, that it's round 0 dependent, but then it's also role dependent. So yeah, it's just so it's a mixed bag. You almost need the double combo of role and score, I would say. Almost, unless he just drops a bonkers score at halfback and you can ride the cash gen wave that he's going to get. Coleman, 269k. Yeah, I really like this pick if he just gets back into the side, and you can see sort of how this is all forming up. This defender line is just an absolute just sort of sort last type of line for me almost at the moment. Jack Sinclair, Travalia, and Al Harley. Well, Jack Sinclair and Jaden Short are almost the two that I trust the most out of all the defenders that are non-rookies. And then I'd say Travalia and Al Harley are the two that I like the best from the rookies. And Bo Allen's just sort of sitting there, and Caleb Smith, obviously, that we went through just then. Bont is probably where I can actually save a lot of money, and I could actually do that if I was to sort of go down to if I was to say sack off Butters and Bont, and then even just go down here and just go maybe a Caleb Sarong does something, merits on the early buy. You've got all these guys, and maybe even go down to like a Steele here, and it's like you're already jumping down really, really low in the totem almost. So even if you just did that, you'd generate 104k, and that's almost enough. So if we just did this and went to, say, a Zach Butters instead, then you could almost get like a Josh Smiley up to a Peatling's, I think, 350k. You could almost do that. But as you see here, there's just no one that I really genuinely like too much. I think Peatling's 350. Peatling 352. So yeah, you'd need a little bit extra cash. That could maybe come from a Dan Curtin or something like that. So if you did that, let me just get Erasmus out of here. 1 second, let me resort this out a little bit. So you've got Peatling there, then you have, so Peatling can go over here. And then we grab the best midfielder that I can get for 144k. 144, let's just get this down a little bit. 144k would be like even like a Clay Hall or something like that, or a Henry Hustwaite potentially, something like that. Save that team there. And then Pete Ling comes on field for like a Sid Draper or something like that. And you'd have something or other of that magnitude there. Maybe even the easiest way to do this is probably Dawson and then get Doherty. And Doherty's someone that I've certainly considered, something like that. And then you'd have an extra, 85k. And then that's where you can get the likes of a Smiley, was it that I was missing out on? I forget who there's like 5 or 6 mid-pricer guys that I'm sort of considering, and then Erasmus I think can get up to, no he can't, but something like that, etc. And then you have all that there. So yeah, that's sort of something that I'm is in consideration, I guess. But yeah, do you really want to start a Caleb Strong and a Brayshaw? These mids at the moment, it's sort of just a throw up in the air at the moment to see. Bont maybe just because of that 126, if he drops a stinker or two, then I move away. It's also kind of dependent on what I go with in my fantasy. I think a little bit, but I don't want to just copy directly because it's kind of hard to, I guess, copy directly across because there's different pricing metrics, etc. Obviously with the different categories, etc. But out of the guys that I like for Supercoach, is pretty much just forget about the early buy guys, I think. Forget about Dunks, forget about Merritt, they're going to be up there. Treloar's probably injury prone anyway. Heaney and Dacos, you can forget about them, especially Dacos with that foot issue. Flanders would be in the back line. Neal we forget about early. Cripps we forget about. Sinclair in the defender line, obviously. Brayshaw, LDU I don't think improves. And then you have already down to Jack Steele, etc. Sammy Walsh already injured. Goulden on the early buy. Noah Anderson, potentially at 106. That's when you start to almost consider these sort of early buy guys, like a Jai Newcomb potentially or something like that. But that's obviously round 0 dependent anyway. But yeah, something like this. I really want to get to the point where I can harbour the 2 rookie type approach. That's something I really want alongside the big rookie bench. But it's just dependent on the rookies that we obviously get in terms of that, as well as filling the flex position with a semi-decent player. I do want to have Matt Flynn, even though he's been down and he's had a couple of injury concerns. But we don't know what we'll do necessarily with that flex position. I'll probably do a whole video on what's the best option in that flex position, as I don't think the best option is the method of going fully of going a full price in there. I think it is a value option in there. I think that is the best way to go around it. But we'll just have to wait and see. That's could be completely different from BBL to AFL. So yeah, the whole thing, if you saw that document yesterday, the Excel spreadsheet from Fantasy, it's a very similar approach in terms of just sort of having guys in that category and then just sort of knowing that I want to go probably 3 primos, 2 high end, or sort of 3 top end primos, then sort of 2 fallen primos, I would say, and then the 1 mid-price-ish area, and then the 2 rookies type approach. So sort of, I would say 3 above 550, and then 2 in the 400s and 1 300k, and then the 2 rookies, etc. And then have obviously the 3 rookies here. You could also probably go with another of the rookies here, and that would probably open up the way to go a little bit more expensive on the bench. But we'll just have to wait and see what happens there, as this backline could be an absolute mess come round 0, because you're just trying to find the best. Round 1, because you're just trying to find the best cash generator. The forward, the ruck line, pretty similar. Marshall and Darcy, if we just go over to Darcy's stats here, I think I showed that in the fantasy video yesterday, the fantasy team update video, that Darcy wasn't the worst option you've seen, that he's gone 118 in the past for Supercoach, so I certainly think he's an option. If we look at his Supercoach numbers, considering 70% ruck contests, Don't count those ones, count this one, and then count that one, and that one. And we're already back into 2023. So in 2024, when he had 70% ruck contest, he went 107. He's currently priced at 98, is it? I believe 98, as he played 15 games or so, 12 games. So 98 should be roughly what he's priced at. If we just do a quick look, 98 looks about right. Yep. So priced at 98. There's easily, potentially, I think, at least 10 points of upside, if not more. If we even go back even further into the 2023 campaign, when he was having 70% ruck time there, and include that in that stretch, you'll see that average starts to go into this sort of 113, 114 range, which is plus 15 points. And that would get him, if he was to be sort of that 112 range, that's top 3 rucks, top 4 rucks. And we expect, or a lot of fancy and Supercoach players are expecting a potential regression from Tristan Cherry of 5 or 6 points. Max Gawn as well is getting older, so he could potentially regress over the season. And suddenly you're looking at potentially that 112 only burning 5 or 6 points to what R1 in Gawn / Sherry, etc. So that's a potential massive win for a guy that you got priced at 98 to have 15 points of upside, say, and be close to that, to be 5 or so points off R1. That's almost keeper territory if he stays fit, but that would bridge the gap of that 140k currently from Darcy to Gawn and bridge it down to probably 40 or so k or 30k, depending on how the price rises change. But yeah, that's just how close hopefully he gets. Riddell is the cheap ruck option that would probably play if Darcy doesn't play. So yeah, I think that he is just the sort of best option there. Horne-Francis, I've sort of teetered with him, not having him, having him, etc. I want to see how they sort of line up, because if Horne-Francis is like, and this is the major difference between Fancy and Supercoach for me at the moment, is Horne-Francis. I just kind of want to see what's his Supercoach when he's got above 50% CBAs. If we just look at 2024 as a whole, when he's got above 50% CBAs, he is looking at a 101.6, and he is priced at roughly about that 101, I think. If we look at it, he's priced at 99.7, so you can kind of see that he doesn't really gain too much. If we just disregard anything in the 50s and go 60 plus CBAs, then he's looking at a 104. So there is a little bit of value if we go up even to the 70% range. 97.7, I mean, that's a 3-game sample size. So not much sample size there. If we were to include, I'm not going to include his North numbers because they were horrendous to say the least. But yeah, if we were to include anything above sort of that 65 for the percent CBAs for the last couple of years, I think you're going to see a very similar sort of trend for him in and around that sort of 100 marker. 94.4, is there any injury games? Nope. But there was, I think, just a couple of stinkers in there. One against Richmond to end off 2023. Take that out and it's 98, etc. So I think with regards to Jason Horne-Francis, he is going to be in and around that price. It's just a matter of, do I want him or do I not want him? Can I go more expensive in another line that's going to gain more value? Or, yeah, that's sort of what I'm considering with Jason Horne-Francis at the moment. Because is he going to have as much value? Or can I go cheaper in the forward line, and instead of having like a Flynn here, have like I could even go like a TDK and have that baked in value there, but then TDK would be sort of on the buy at the same time as someone else, but I think he has the same buy as someone. But yeah, I think these two might even have do they have the same buy as well? So yeah, there's sort of just considerations there, and Darcy might not even be a keeper at that price or whatever, and that's why you'd have Flynn, etc. there to cover off some of the ruck line, etc. I haven't looked at buys, as you can tell, yet too much. It's the mid-season buys especially. But yeah, Darcy, obviously with the injury risk, is would be probably a flip anyway to a Cherry or a Gorn after that. But anyway, moving on, we talked about Horn Francis. Then you have the staple 4. I'll probably call them the staple 4 for the rest of the preseason, just because I think 60% of teams are going to have them. Elijah Hewitt is just training on ball. He should be taking that next step. I feel like Caden Cleary is probably a season behind Hewitt, but I feel like you're going to get the same type of, not a similar type of output, I should say, probably a different meaning behind that, but you're going to still get really good output out of Cleary, and you're going to get similar output out of Erasmus if these two get the nod, and I'm pretty confident that Cleary gets the nod. And if he gets the nod, I'm even more confident that he gets the 65 average or so. That would be pretty good cash gen. I believe that would be about 35 points of cash generation, which is like 150k or so, which is huge cash generation for a rookie type price player in the forward line, especially because you can get damaged goods with like I remember being stuck with like a Robert Hansen Jr., etc. type players there. If we just look at the forward line here, you'll sort of see the examples that I'm going to go through. Malachi Champion probably fits into that mold. River Stevens as well, if he was to get a debut. Looking through here, anyone else that sort of probably not so much Jesse Totoli, but probably like a Ned Bowman, etc. Jasper Algar as well, potentially as well, would fit under that sort of mold. I'm surprised that they still have Paddy Snell as a defender forward, given that he's been playing defender for the Swans VFL the whole of last year. But anyway, I think that's a good point to finish off this recording here of my team pickup video for AFL SuperCoach. I know that it comes out soon, the whole SuperCoach package there. So we'll get into, it'll be probably a little bit easier to show the team, etc. And we'll get to I don't know how much I'll do of SuperCoach outside of doing the merge of the Fantasy and SuperCoach player reviews when those get done. Probably in about a week's time. But anyway, if you guys did enjoy that video, remember to like and subscribe, turn the notification bell on. If you're listening on Spotify, give me a follow and a rating over there, and I will see you guys back here tomorrow for I think it's going to be the primo midfielders, as I will classify all the rookies together because there's only about 20 or so rookies that I really like the look of early on. But anyway, I'll see you guys in those videos in the upcoming week or so. Bye guys.